I don't know what I was thinking, but for some reason, I had the silly little idea to try and rebuild the rec center lot from Growing Together. As if building the original one that actually comes in the world wasn't enough, I thought, you know what, let's just build another one. Let's just build another 64 by 64 lot. You see, my thought process was good. I just kind of wanted to make one that could use other packs, because obviously I built one, the original one, but it was just base game and Growing Together. And I really wanted to put like a basketball court from City Living. I wanted to use like toilet stalls. I also kind of wanted to use the ball pit from the toddler stuff pack, because where else are you gonna put that thing? So yeah, good idea in theory, but in practice, I may have gone in a little bit over my head. I don't build 64 by 64 lots very often. I think for good reason, because they're just so big. I don't even know when I last built one of these, aside from obviously like the original rec center that I made. There's actually not that many lots of this size in the game, just in general. For the most part, the bigger lots are like 50 by 50 usually. So a lot of people are pretty excited when we get a giant lot like this. I'm not one of those people. I'm not cut out for building giant lots. There's just so much space. I don't know how to fill it. This was especially an issue in like the real rec center. If you missed it, I built the rec center lot type that came in the pack. I made a whole video on the process of building these lots too, so I'll link that down below if you want to watch it. But building that rec center was especially difficult because I was sort of limited in like how many objects I could use. So I wanted it to be like big, but not too empty, but then the lot was gonna be empty. So it was a really tough call to try and figure out how to fill this giant lot while like not using too much stuff. Luckily with this rec center, we didn't have any sort of object limitations. And obviously I had some stuff like the basketball court and things like that that could fill in a lot of space. So let me walk you through kind of my thought process with this as we're sort of figuring out the floor plan here, because a rec center is kind of like a catch-all lot, basically. This thing does everything and it has everything. I built this on my Twitch stream and a lot of people were coming in kind of confused as to what a rec center is because they had never heard of one before. So rec center is short for recreation center. It's kind of like a community center, maybe like a YMCA if you've ever seen one of those. I think this build I've done in The Sims is a little bit more extreme than any real life thing would be, but think of it just like a community center. And so in The Sims, we've got a lot of things that like would be useful for the community to come and use. And in this case, that stuff is mostly like skill building items, you know? So the lot requirements include like some gym equipment. You need to have a shower, obviously. It wants you to have a couple musical instruments. It also wants you to have the puzzle game tables from the pack, and it wants a few playground equipment items. So it kind of has a thing for all age groups. You can come here and work out. You can like learn the piano. You can play board games with the neighbors. But I took those lot requirements and I kind of added to them with this. So I added a few additional things that I thought might be kind of useful. So there's a whole wing of the building downstairs that's kind of like a gym space. It's on the side near the basketball court. And I have like an obvious gym area that has like treadmills and the weight machines and stuff like that. But there's also a yoga room and a pool. So I put loads of stuff like that all on the downstairs. Then there's like a locker room and showers and stuff too. And then there's also like a games room area where there's like board game tables. There's a cafeteria that has like some kitchen stuff and like some big tables to eat at. I also kind of picture that cafeteria being useful for if you're trying to host any sort of an event here. If you wanted to have like a baby shower or something, there's a big open room with tables for you to use. There's also a kids room downstairs. So that has like, you know, some kids stuff. Like there's all kinds of little skill building things like the doll houses and like the little science table. The kids section also has a baby area, like a baby gate space with stuff for infants. And then upstairs, there's a music room that has like a piano and a microphone and a guitar and a violin and all of that stuff. There's also an art room upstairs that has, you know, like easels. It even has some kids art stuff, like those little kid activity tables. There's also a party room upstairs that I like very specifically made for the purpose of throwing parties. We'll kind of get into it once we get there in the build, but I put like balloons everywhere and I was very heavily inspired by the clown painting because one of the things they asked me to include in the original build was the tragic clown painting, and there's kind of like some lore in game surrounding it. Like some of the townies will be like, you know what? Have you seen that clown painting in the rec center? I think it's haunted. And so I wanted to make sure I had that here too because it felt kind of important. So I sort of made an entire party room with like tables and a karaoke machine and like a little bar and stuff so that if you wanted to host parties here, there was like a very obvious place to do it. Then outside, there's like a picnic section, so it's got some tables and a grill. There's also a whole playground outside off the kids area. There's a fountain. There's like some murals your Sims can paint from City Living. I mean, I did everything on this lot. So at this point in the speed build, we're kind of just figuring out the layout of the exterior. There's been a lot of like path placing and stuff like that because that was my main concern, was just filling in the whole space and like figuring out pathways and how how things all fit together and stuff. You'll notice a couple things that were like main features to me, specifically that fountain, which actually isn't like a buy mode item that you can get, but it is in debug. I really like that fountain. It's like a giant square, like really beautiful fountain that comes in Growing Together, but it's not just like in the catalog. You have to use the debug sheets to get to it. That fountain is like one of the main features in one of the other neighborhoods, and so I took it and I used it here. And I also kind of really heavily based the color scheme of the building on that fountain. Like a lot of the paint that I used was based on that, like sort of that gray and like reddish tone almost. So this place is a lot darker on the interior and exterior than the original rec center that I built. If you've seen the rec center that comes in Growing Together, it's like very white and it has some bright color sort of accents around the place. This one is not like that. I was trying to use different swatches of things, so I used a lot of the brown and gray that I'm talking about, which was kind of tough because a lot of the rec center furniture is very like white and, you know, bright yellow. So I was sort of struggling with how to make it work. The color scheme took me a long time, and I actually cut out the painting of this building. I didn't even include it in the speed build because, my God, this took me 3 live streams to do. So like 9 hours or something. It was ridiculous. I spent a lot longer than that on the original rec center, so I guess it's not really that bad, but it definitely took me longer than I expected it would because I came into this like super confident. I was like, oh, I already built one of these. I know exactly what it's gonna look like because I know what my plan is in my head. I've already picked out the color scheme and I know how I'm gonna fill the lot with the basketball court. I really thought that basketball court was gonna save me. I was like, this basketball court is gonna fill in the entire lot. I don't know why I came into this feeling so confident, but anyway, it took me a lot longer than I expected it would. So when I sped up the footage, it was like over an hour long sped up. And I'm sorry, but you don't need to see that. No one needs me to sit here and talk over footage for an hour straight. So I tried to cut out some things that didn't feel like all that necessary. For example, the bathrooms, some of like the random hallway bits. I also cut out the painting because I can just show it to you. You don't need to watch me try like 15 different swatches to get to the right one. It took me way too long to do the exterior paint colors. I think personally, I'm really excited to use this lot in my gameplay. I love the rec center that I built before, by the way. I feel like people in my Twitch chat were like, why are you doing this? You already did this. As if there was like some tea about me like not liking my other rec center. I just wanted to build another one to use packs. Cause for example, I couldn't use like a swing set even in the original rec center because there isn't one in the base game or in Growing Together. There is one in the Growing Together like bonus content, but obviously I couldn't use the bonus content in like the main build. So it's just fun to be able to put those things down and have like a place for them. Same thing with the basketball court, which I know I keep mentioning, but I just don't really find a use for that in most of my builds because it's so big. It's so hard to like fit it into places. And honestly, the basketball is like kind of bugged. It kind of needs like tuned or something because in my experience, when there's a basketball hoop around, specifically on my Sims home lot, if they have basketball, they will only play basketball. They're not interested in anything else. And that's, I mean, it's nice, but it's a little excessive. So it's also nice to have one like on a public place where I can choose to come here and then leave if it's being annoying. And that goes for a lot of this stuff, I think. It's just nice to be able to use things like the toddler ball pit that I just never put in my home lots and then have a place here for it to be. The diving board, you know, all of this stuff that it's just hard to fit into a regular home. It's kind of fun to have here because then I can come here and use it and then go home and not have an ugly ball pit in my backyard. You see? Okay, so we're working on the little kids room right now, and there's a couple things I wanted to mention. So obviously I'm using a fair amount of packs in this build. For that, I apologize, but also it was kind of my intention was to use packs. So I've got like the kids' little game table and stuff too. But you also might see that tiny little baby gated area off to the side. I really wanted to make a space for the infants here too, because obviously having the life state now, we have good reason to need places for them. I don't really know if I would bring my infant here to the rec center. I think having played with them, I'd probably just leave them at home instead of bringing them with me. But I did leave a little baby gate space because I wanted to have some toys for them and also a place where you could like leave them and have them be safe. I even put a crib. We kind of had some discussion in chat about like whether or not it was worth doing that because like is it kind of weird to have one of those there? Maybe. But I ended up putting the like travel one, the one that you can put in your inventory because it kind of looks like a pack and play or something. And I put that back there because honestly gameplay wise, if you are bringing your infant here, it'd be nice to have a place for them to nap. And they can nap on the floor, floor, and they do nap on the floor. I've got experience with it, but it's just nice to have a place to put them, you know? So I have that there. There's a couple more of the infant play mats. There's also a ton of toddler stuff around. So there's even like toddler potties in one of the bathrooms. Because if you do need to potty train them, I mean, this is a place for all ages. It's got stuff for everybody in here. Okay, the kitchen area though was definitely a harder part for me. You'll notice a lot of like flooring struggle with this build too. I went back and forth so much on the kind of floor that I wanted to use. I was trying to do tile. I was trying to do like linoleum. I didn't really like how it looked. I wanted to do wood maybe, but like, is that unrealistic? So we changed our minds a lot with the flooring. There's just a lot of like color scheme struggles with this one. It took me ages to figure out. But the kitchen was also kind of weird because I'm basing a lot of like what I put into this build on what they told me and like what they asked for in the original one that I built. So for example, I probably wouldn't like just upon first thought put a bar here because I'm thinking of it as like a family place. Like I wouldn't want there to be a bar in this lot, but they asked me to put a bar because they wanted this lot to be a good place to host parties, and like some of the parties in game require a bar. You need to like have drinks and stuff, and so we did put a bar. And then I was kind of figuring out the kitchen area and thinking like, do I want to do a bar in here or like do it in the party room instead? And I found this super cute like cafeteria item from high school years, and I decided to use it in here. And I must clarify, it does not function. You can't like click on it and hire a sim to work at the cafeteria. It just looks really cool, and so I put it there. This kitchen does have a fridge and an oven, so you can like bake a cake here for a party if you need to, and there's also a bunch of vending machines. So I kind of figured like realistically there probably wouldn't be like a fully staffed cafeteria, but maybe there's like a kitchen area that like could be staffed in case of parties, like kind of storyline wise. And I thought it looked cool, to be honest. So I kept that there, and your sims can eat here because they can cook and they can also buy food from the vending machines. And in this cafeteria, I put one of those little photo booths from high school years. I don't know how realistic this place having a photo booth is, but it also kind of feels like a mall almost, this rec center, because there's like so much going on. And at this point, I was like, you know what? I've put literally every skill building object ever in here. I've got all this random stuff that I don't have a place for elsewhere. I might as well put a photo booth too. Like once you go ball pit, you might as well do everything else. No, the ball pit is reasonable, but there's some things in here that are kind of random, I will say. We're not quite to this point yet, so I'll talk about it more once we actually get there, but I also put a couple of rooftop gardens on this build. There's so much roof. Like the building is so large. There was a lot of roof space that I kind of wanted to make use of. So upstairs, there's kind of like a big stair landing that's almost like a library vibe. And then I put like a little garden door off the side, and there's like basically a rooftop access that you have, and it's got like some plants and stuff. I put a cow plant there because of course I did. But anyway, right here is the gym. This is like the real gym space that has all the gym equipment that's actually a lot requirement. The rest of the stuff that I put isn't a lot requirement, but you do need to have 2 pieces of gym equipment. So I have the treadmills, we have those weights. I even put in like a punching bag and stuff too. So there's just stuff here that your sims can skill build with. Growing Together comes obviously with a lot of really nice objects to build rec center type community lots like this. So there's 3 really nice like gym wall decals. Obviously those are great for a build like this, like for this particular room, but honestly you could use those gym wall decals in like any gym build that you're doing. That's one of the things that I like about the build from Growing Together. Some of it I feel is a little bit like, I don't know, some of the rec center furniture, like the desks and stuff, feel a little bit out there to me. You'll see them later on once we get upstairs, but the pack does have a lot of really nice community lot stuff. I mean, like the wall decals, there's a couple really nice signs for like outside of buildings. All of the furniture, like the tables and chairs and things, could be great for a library type of vibe. So you definitely can use these for a lot of public spaces, which is good because I feel like it's nice to have more public type of furniture. It's just kind of hard to use some of that stuff in your house. I guess some of it could pass in like a kid's room or something, but I don't know. Anyway, we're doing the art room now. I love this room because I feel like we have so many cute little art items. The art career in this game comes with a ton of reward objects like the canvases and stuff that are so nice. And a lot of people don't even realize we have them because they're like locked behind that career cheat. So there's this canvas rack. There's like some canvases on the floor. There's a little paint stand thing. And there's also this like still life portrait thing that you can use. I put it in here too, but basically it has like a little table with some fruits and there's a light shining on it. So it's great for building a thing like this. We also have these really nice like rugs full of paint. It's kind of like a paint tarp or something from City Living. There's paint cans from City Living. So we have a bunch of really cute stuff that worked really well in here. My main focus was easels, obviously, because that's like, you know, the main painting skill. But I also put in some like little kids stuff, like the kids activity tables. I put a a woodworking table. And from the new pack from Growing Together, there's like some really cute art boards that look like they have like community artwork hung up on them. I was kind of imagining in my head that like there was kids art classes being hosted in here, and so they had the boards that hung up all the kids' artwork. That's kind of the purpose that rec centers would serve. Obviously in The Sims, it's more of like a skill building place. The most like community aspect of it, to me at least, is that when I play here, I see everybody help me with puzzles. When I come here, all the town is like, I'm gonna do puzzles with you. But like in real life, a place like this, they might have like free or really cheap art classes for kids. They might have like a rec basketball league. They might have swim classes, stuff like that would be going on. So that's kind of what I was trying to add in when I was building it. This is the music room, and I'm guessing that like in my head, they would probably also have, you know, music classes. You could take like piano lessons or something. I was sort of channeling like my elementary school music classes, like when we would go to the music room and play the recorder. That was kind of the vision for in here. But I also thought that like for adults, like adults could also take classes here or like, you know, do something like that. So I kind of have in this music room like a miniature stage with some chairs behind it. And I kind of made this into like a dance studio. I felt like the music room was way bigger than I thought it was. And so when I was trying to furnish it, I was like, oh no, I don't know how to fill like the other half of this room. It's also kind of a weird shape because it isn't like, you know, one big rectangle. It kind of looks like an S or something. And so I was struggling with the furnishings of it. And so I had one half be like performance stage. The other half is like dance studio and also kids stuff. So there's like some kids violins in here too. It was weird because I kind of like would expect to put all these kids things like the activity tables and the kids violins in the kids room. But then there's also a music room and an art room. So I want to put them like there. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to figure out where to place them. Oh God. And we're moving on to the best room of the building. This is the party room. I had mentioned the tragic clown and stuff earlier. So I sized up a giant tragic clown painting and I put it here in this party room. My chat on Twitch was laughing at me because I made the party room be right off of the library, which I guess in hindsight wasn't the smartest thing to do. We're gonna be playing loud clown music while you're trying to study, but it's fine. The walls are soundproofed, okay? Don't worry about it. But in this room, I wanted to have like some rainbow tables and like a lot of the party stuff that you might use. So for example, there's these little like confetti cannons from the pack. Those do catch fire, by the way. So I'm just warning you, but I wanted to use that in here. I also put a bar up here because I didn't do one downstairs in the kitchen in the end. And I put a karaoke machine because it'd be kind of fun to play with. There's also like a table that has some presents on it and space to put the cake and stuff. So I just kind of pictured this room being like the party room that you might rent out at like a trampoline place or something. Or maybe like your local movie theater might have a party room and it's kind of just a room with some tables and the kids can have their party in there. That's kind of what I was channeling with this, but I wasn't really thinking like kids party. I was more thinking like anyone's party. It just happens to be Rainbow Clown themed, which I realize might give kids party vibes, but I feel like maybe you can have a baby shower here, you know? It's a lot, but it's kind of fun. You can tell that by this point, I have been building this for a long time. It like started out a lot more serious and then we got to clown party, but clown party's fun. When else are you gonna have a thing like this? It's also like already decorated, so it's great if you want to have the party here. You don't even need to do anything. Okay, my cat is on my desk now. I'm just warning you. You're probably, yeah, you're gonna see some like tail. She keeps walking back and forth. Anyway, where was I? Clowns. Okay, so I actually have a funny story about the clown painting because obviously when I built the original version of this lot, like the main one that comes in the pack, they were giving me like feedback periodically. We basically had like 4 or 5 deadlines where we had to send them our build for them to look at and give feedback on. Initially, there was no pack content in it because we didn't even have any yet because we were making this before the pack stuff was even made. So I was like doing it all base game and then replacing it with the pack furniture as the pack furniture was being finished. And they would, okay, now she's back there behind the plant. Oh my God. And they would give feedback like, oh, you know, maybe we could try and add in the new desk when we get here and, you know, stuff like that. But sometimes they would give like, sort of random feedback. It would start off like, oh, maybe we could add in a bar because this would be great to have parties at. So I added it. And then they'd be like, oh, maybe we could add in the tragic clown painting. So I did. I put it in here. But that was like one of their last minute requests. One of the later things before the build was due. And it shocked me, to be honest. I was like, you want what? I'll do it. I'm into it. Like, I think that's hilarious. But it did surprise me. You just don't expect to be asked to put a tragic clown in a build. When else are you gonna use it though? So I agree. It is fun. If you guys didn't know, that tragic clown painting, if you like view it a few times, it will summon a clown. And I'm not kidding. That is a real thing. That's a real gameplay feature that a lot of people don't know about. I think that's part of why they wanted to include it, is because like a lot of people don't realize that you can do it. So it might like test you. So it might like encourage you to try, I guess, if you've got it right there. But yeah, I don't know. It's a base game thing. So if you want to, place that clown painting in your house. Click on it, you know, see what happens. You might like it. Okay. I think the cat likes the clown painting. But we're at that point kind of finished with the build here. Obviously, I cut out a few things. So I want to pop into the game and show you some live footage and like a real tour, kind of like talk about things that I might have missed in the speed build. So this is the original rec center. You can see it's got sort of similar vibes, but it's a lot smaller because I had to keep it small. I'm gonna kill it though, because I want to get the new one. Oh, here are the lot requirements, by the way. Game stuff, musical instruments, workout equipment, sink, toilet, shower, stereo, and jungle gym. So there's not like a lot of specific lot requirements, and you could do this on a smaller lot for sure. Like it doesn't have to be 64 by 64. You could probably do it in like Willow Creek on a 30 by 20 lot. So here is the complete finished product. Now there's a lot to go over because I cut out a lot of this. So let's talk about the exterior. You can see I kind of tried to match the coloring of it to this fountain that we talked about. So I kind of tried to make this area around the fountain into like a little bit of a courtyard. It's kind of cute because we have like this floor mural. Your Sims can actually paint this. That's from City Living. We obviously have some benches. There's some trees and stuff. Around here in the front, I put down one of the skating rinks from Seasons. I never use these because I kind of forget about them. You can get them out of debug, but they also just like appear in the world. For stuff, there's like an ice rink in the snow and then a like roller skating rink in the summer. And I put this one here because it kind of matched, and it's also nice to be able to use it and like have your Sims skate here. I'm not sure where these appear in the Growing Together world. There should be at least one somewhere in San Sequoia, but I put one here for us. We also have some chess tables outside. Kind of around the back here, we have the little like kids playground I was talking about. We've got some toys in the sand, but also like a swing set and a toddler slide. We also have like the big jungle gym stuff. Back here, I wanted to use the observatory as well, because again, when else are you gonna use it? Your Sims can also woohoo in this, so I guess that's kind of useful. Around the back, this area right here is like right off kitchen, so we have some picnic tables and a grill. If you've played in these community centers, you'll notice that the Sims grill a lot, so you get free food a lot. So check here for like hot dogs. And then way back here, this is the basketball court. We have kind of like a little shaded area for Sims to sit and watch. And I use this mural from high school years because it looks so good there. Same with the mural over here in the playground. I feel like it just looks really nice. But that is pretty much the entire exterior of the building. When you actually go inside, this is kind of the front. There's like a little desk right here, a front desk. I use this mural, which I thought was so cute. Over to the side, we have like some seating and some bookshelves. I also put a couple desks, kind of just like, you know, nice public space. These are all the card tables, so your Sims can do puzzles and like play games and stuff there. Then we have a little public bathroom. I've got like some toilet stalls. We have a toddler potty, obviously a changing table too, and like some sinks and stuff. In here is the kids area, perhaps my favorite section of the building. We have like little baby stuff, so all the baby things are in here and they can be like left in here to be taken care of. And then we have more kids stuff, like some desks for homework. We got the board game table. I put this so you can skill build a little bit. Don't worry, there's a fire alarm just in case. And also the ball pit, because I never use this, and I feel like it works really well in here. And then over here we have the kitchen. So we've got just some tables for your Sims to eat. We've got vending machines, mostly with food, but also with Simmy capsules if you wanted to get any collectibles or maybe die, because these things can crush you, but it's rare. It probably won't happen. It's fine. And then back here in the kitchen section, I wanted to make sure it was functional for like if you needed to bake cake or something. So I used the oven from Dream Home Decorator. There's not a stove, just an oven, because it kind of like is hidden there anyway, and then you can use it to cook. You also can make some coffee and stuff in here. Around this side, this is kind of like some more hallway space that leads you into the big gym section, because really this entire wing is like the gym. So first we have another bathroom. This one has the showers in it, and I really liked how these looked in the corner. We also have some toilets and sinks and stuff. These are the new lockers that came with the pack. And then we have like the workout room. We've got like a little yoga classroom, so you can take some yoga classes. And then we have the pool. This has like some lines in it, so it looks like a lap pool, but you can also use the diving board and stuff. And then upstairs, we've got even more. Upstairs is kind of like the library area that I was talking about. So I have like some lounge couches here. Great for rags to riches because your Sims can sleep there if they need to. But we also have a ton of desks and computers. We've got some bookshelves, all that sort of stuff that you might need. Over here is the art room. I even put like a sink in here in case you wanted to wash your paintbrushes. Obviously you don't need to, but in case you wanted to. We have a woodworking table. There's easels everywhere. We have the kids things. And this is another one of those City Living murals that your Sims can paint. I like this. I like how it's like functional and you can actually actually make a mural, so I put that there. Over on this side, we've got another bathroom upstairs. It also has a changing table, and there's a smaller bathroom too. This one has a toddler potty in it if you need it. Okay, my cat really wants attention. This is the music room that I struggled so much with. We have like a little dance section here, and I put these bars to kind of look like a ballet bar. I know it's not quite perfect, but they do like stick off the wall a little bit, so I felt like it kind of made sense. We kind of have like some kids music sections over here. This is like the stage space with all the instruments, and then we have these little chairs here. And then all the way on this side, we have the party room with the tragic clown painting that I have warned you about. I'm obsessed with this. It's my favorite part. I'm gonna be honest. I really like it. And it's got like presents and space for food, so I feel like it's pretty functional. And then off of this area, we have that like outdoor space, the community garden space. This has a ton of plants already in it, including a cow plant. And I realized from my Twitch chat that a lot of people had never seen this meat wall. So I'm pleased and horrified to show you that you can turn this like vertical garden from Eco Lifestyle into a meat wall, and you can grow meat. If you didn't know about that and now you do, I'm actually sorry that I was the one to tell you. I'm sorry that you have to learn about it, but I put that there because again, when else are you gonna use it? Now there's a meat wall, and that's the whole build. I mean, it's got everything, but hopefully it's useful for you. Like I mentioned, I did use a lot of packs, like pretty much every expansion pack, a handful of game packs, and the toddler stuff pack. I didn't use any kits or anything though, luckily, so hopefully you like it. If you want to download it, my name is just lilsimsie on the gallery. In fact, my name is just lilsimsie everywhere, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Instagram, everywhere. My name is just lilsimsie. And I keep talking about Twitch, so if you want to go and follow me on Twitch, I stream a lot of builds over there, so I'm gonna link my channel down below. And I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna link the video that I made on like the original building process, the behind the scenes of making the rec center that comes in the world, because I think you might like that, to hear about like the behind the scenes process. But on that note, I will stop talking at you, and I'm gonna end this video right here. My cat wants me to pet her, and I talk with my hands too much to do it when I'm recording, so I'll catch you all later, okay? Bye, everybody. The cat honestly is the star of the show. I'm pretty sure that my camera autofocused on her tail a bunch when she was walking across my desk. So if you got like a really clear tail shot, you're welcome.